Well, today you join me aboard a Nissan Laurel, which is exciting, to be honest. I'm the editor of Retro Japanese magazine. Frankly, this is the only way I should travel. This car was registered in 1985, but it's probably a build of 1984. And yeah, I'm discovering it's quite joyous to drive around in. Got a decent amount of shove and a proper old school sort of 6-cylinder soundtrack. It's quite Jaguar-esque, and that's not all that surprising, to be honest. I believe this uses the L series engine of Nissan, and that's a 6-cylinder overhead cam, single cam, not twin cam like a Jaguar. But as we'll see when we look under the bonnet, it's a very old school sort of an engine. It's a very old school sort of a car. The steering's a little bit on the vague side because it's a steering box, and quite a well-worn steering box as well. It appears to have done 119,000 miles. And it's quite a simple construction, really. We've got a sort of live rear axle, which is on coil springs, but still doesn't offer the most refined ride, I think I'd say. It's smooth and floaty for the most part, but over really bad surfaces you do feel it. Yeah, you can feel it isn't an independent back end, let's put it that way. So it's an odd mix of 1970s kitsch, and it's very brown in here, lovely patterned velour seats, but 80s out of style. It's yeah, a curious mix. This is when the Japanese weren't yet leading the way. They were still playing catch up, really, and Europe had moved on a bit in terms of driving dynamics. I mean, a BMW would be a lot sharper than this, but I'm not sure a BMW would be any better built than this. I mean, the quality is fine. There are a few tiny trim rattles, yet remarkably the interior of this car is pretty much untouched. It all came out for repaint, but all the seats, the upholstery is all the original, which is quite remarkable. It's what I really like about this car. It's had an exterior repaint, but it feels like a car that's evolved, not one that's been completely stripped down. It belongs to a friend of mine called Melissa, and today's been the first time I've actually met Melissa. It's been a long time in the coming. We've known each other online for a while, and she's now got a total of 3 Laurels, I think, her and her boyfriend, so that's a goodly collection. But Laurels were very much the cars. Well, it's a car she fell in love with when her dad had one, when she was a child, and yeah, she's living the dream now and has managed to reclaim some of her youth with a mighty Laurel. Slow down for this bend a bit because the steering is light, but not all that much feedback going on. I'll see if I can find a spot where we can have a look around this car in a bit more detail. Oh, there we go, there's a kick down. When you put your foot down, an economy light comes on to tell you you're not driving economically. And I promised I wouldn't do too much of that, so I should try and behave. Oh, a dual carriageway, that's not what I wanted at all. It's a very old school driving experience. The noises are very old school. The transmission whines. I'm not sure of the heritage of the gearbox, but if I was to hazard a rough guess, I would assume that it's an Aisin Warner gearbox, because that was a tie-up between Aisin in Japan and Warner of Borg Warner fame. And it's got that feel. It's very much very whiny and first. It feels like an old Borg Warner box. and the carburetors are Hitachi's, but they're Hitachi's copy of an SU. So again, yeah, it's surprisingly British in some ways. It's very comfortable. These seats are fantastic and peaceful as well. I mean, it's quieter in terms of wind noise than the Rover, which is depressing, to be honest. Not 60. Well done, Fluff. That was a good showing. Fluff is the name of the car because the number plate is LUF, which seems entirely fair enough to me. Lovely exhaust note. It really does burble away quite magnificently. It's quite addictive stuff. Now, as I've admitted before, I get a bit confused between Cedrics and Laurels, but Laurels were kind of the big Nissans, or certainly the biggest we saw. There were Presidents as well, but they were very, very fancy people. But yeah, I'd say this is a car that's very much more at home cruising down a dual carriageway than this tiny country road I now find myself on. I'm going to put my headlights on because it's that dark down here. When you think of some of the executive cars that were available in Britain when this car was new, the very last of the ambassadors, crikey, as much as I like an oddball car, I can perfectly understand why someone after an executive car would look at an Austin Ambassador and go, no, that's not what I want. Now, you got the Ford Granada Mark II, but Ford Granada Mark IIs weren't known for having lots of toys unless you could afford the full sort of Gear X spec. You know, I've no idea how big the engine is in this car, but I probably hazard a guess, but it's a 2.8, so that makes it the L28. So that engine was shared with the Nissan 280ZX, probably most famously, which was the third generation of Z car, and arguably the softest one they ever made. Not everyone's favourite, the 280ZX. Which is perhaps a bit harsh because not everyone wants an out-and-out sports car, but the L series engine has its origins right back to the 60s, and cars like the Big Heeley and Austin Westminster, very much the inspiration for that Big Six engine, even though it now had an overhead camshaft. You know, when Austin failed to update the Big Heelys and eventually just took them out of production, Nissan went, well, we can make something like that, so they made the 240Z or Z, depending on your place of birth. So here is the magical dashboard of the Laurel. We've got a button for the electric mirror, we've got a cassette player, we've got, you know, a proper push button radio, and look at the heater controls. My parents had a stereo in the 1980s that looked very much like that, even finished in silver. There's the automatic gear selector, nice thumb switch. That's a model of a Laurel, although it's actually the pillarless saloon. And I've seen one of these in the metal fairly recently, but sadly that was the Netherlands. Hello to Ivan if you're watching. But yeah, lots of lovely luscious brown. Very comprehensive, very clear dials, very easy to read. I love how the variable intermittent, look, it actually shows you it going from 4 seconds to 12 seconds. That's absolutely beautiful. There's the electric mirror switch buried down here, and we've even got, look, genuine Datsun Laurel key guard to protect your key, so you fold your key into that, and button for the headlamp wipers, and I might have to get some video footage of those later on. But here's the spec. Look, we've got 4 electric windows, We've got power locks as well. Oh, that's the window lock. Yeah, we have got power locks. I've never seen locks like that before. Look, you live with your thumb like that. That's beautiful. This upholstery, absolutely wonderful. Right, I'll pop the bonnet. No, actually no, I'll do some exterior shots and then we'll pop the bonnet. Let's check out the rear seat. Oh! I left the headlamps on. Oh, I love that beep. My Nissan Bluebird, my Japanese one, did that. Absolutely loved it. So, sitting here in the back, it is marvellously comfortable, I will say that. I've got my centre armrest, I've got all my junk. We've got map reading pockets on the backs of the seats. Not the most amount of leg room, and that's with the seat set for me. It's probably a little bit further back than I'd sit, but good amount of headroom. I've got little map reading lights here. Look at these, beautiful. And yeah, I can imagine as a child this must have been an amazing place to sit. Right, let's take you for a tour of the outside. And there she is. We're right next to a dual carriageway, so I apologise for the noise as a transit van drives past. But here is the Nissan Laurel. This is a C31, and they weren't sold here for all that long really, and you certainly never saw many in the day, so the fact that Melissa manages to own 3 of them is quite remarkable. It's very, very Datsun at the back with those rear lights, and you'll see it's badged both as a Nissan and a Datsun, because Datsun was kind of like an export name of Nissan, and yeah, it's a very complicated history, but there you go. We've got the steel sunroof, we've got these lovely alloy wheels, and of course we have headlamp wipers. Headlamp wipers. I shall get some footage of those later on, but for now I shall try and get the bonnet opened. And there we go, we can see the windscreen wipers hiding away under here. They're hidden by the edge of the bonnet. I mean, that was quite remarkable for its time. The Austin Montego did the same, of course. The Austin Montego didn't have such a lovely stainless steel finishing panel though. But anyway, I'm distracting myself from the important business of the engine. And as you can see, it looks very old school. We've even got a polished aluminium rocker cover, or cam cover, I guess, because it is where the camshaft resides. It's a big old lump of engine though, and but look how easy it is to get at everything. Look how clean it is. All the subframes have been off. It's had an awful lot of work, and sadly it did need it. And completely hidden by view, or hidden from view, is the carburettor, but there is a big carburettor under that cover somewhere. So that is the engine bay of the Nissan Laurel. You'll notice these simple torsion springs that hold the bonnet open. That's quite impressive in itself, really. I've never seen those on a bonnet before, only on boots. Lovely engineering in those hinges. Look at that. You can't really see that because it's so dark. Gorgeous. Thank you, Fluff. So this is what it's like, the driver's eye view of driving the Nissan Laurel. You see what I mean about playing the steering. It's there's a fair bit that makes no difference to my direction at all. Sharp bends, not this car's forte really. But that's more because it doesn't feel like the sort of car you should be chucking around. It just doesn't feel appropriate. It's a nice lazy transmission. It doesn't kick down unless you really want it to. It uses the substantial torque of that engine. Oh no, my economy light just came on again. I was obviously giving it too many beans up that hill. Yes, an entertaining amount of shove, I think we can say. But now we're being held up by ruddy caravans. But there you go. That is a joyous drive of a Nissan Laurel. I would like to say thank you very much to Melissa and Simon. They've been very helpful today, because you'll be able to read about this car in Retro Japanese magazine in the winter 2018 issue. I will update the description to say when that issue is on sale. But yeah, I can't wait. I've done a full photo shoot on this car today. I think it's going to look absolutely fabulous. I would like to thank the weather for being far better than we expected. When I got to Melissa's house, it was pouring down. But most of all, thanks to you for watching. Don't forget to subscribe before you go, and don't forget to head to hubnut.org, where you can find a link to the online shop and you can buy nice things. And I shall see you in a future video. There will be no pachoo this time. We'll just enjoy swanning along in a rather lovely Laurel.